On Father's Day, my daughter Emily, a young, successful, and ambitious executive, came to visit me. She carried a basket of fresh fruits, as vibrant as the early Sunday dawn breaking over Houston. She set it on the counter, gazed at me with a warm yet slightly detached look, and said, "Dad, my husband Victor still wires you $4,000 every month, doesn't he? I just want to ensure you're doing okay." I paused. My pulse quickened. $4,000? For the last 10 months, I'd been scraping by on meals from the Oakwood Community Center and occasional help from good-hearted friends and neighbors. I murmured, my tone unsteady. "Honey, the center's been keeping me afloat." She looked at me, her grin fading slowly. Then Victor appeared in the doorway, sharp in a tailored suit, polished loafers, and a wave of expensive cologne that filled the space like a subtle taunt. His grin was confident, but his gaze was sharper than any storm I'd weathered in my 68 years. He didn't know that on that day, the shine of his success would begin to dim, for good. If you're tuned in right now, drop where you're watching from in the comments. Every note you add fuels this tale, and if it's moved you even a little, smash that like button to spread it wider. My name is Robert Thompson, a 68-year-old widower living in a modest home on the edge of Houston, Texas. This place once echoed with joy, where my late wife Evelyn and I raised our only daughter Emily. After Evelyn passed from cancer 9 years ago, I adapted. I tinkered in the garage, grilled for neighbors, and sometimes led woodworking classes at the nearby Oakwood Community Center. I wasn't rich, but it sufficed, until age crept in and costs climbed with every sunrise. Emily, the little girl I once bounced on my knee, is now a powerhouse at 36. She runs a string of marketing firms, cruises in a sleek Audi, and resides in a villa in River Oaks, where the upkeep alone dwarfs my lifetime earnings. I beamed with pride for her. I nurtured her with these calloused hands, hoping she'd become strong, compassionate, and appreciative. So when she stepped into my home that afternoon, sunlight pouring in through the windows, her poised but weary face lifted my spirit until her words hit like a punch to the gut. "Dad, my husband Victor still wires you $4,000 every month, doesn't he? I just want to ensure you're doing okay." It was like the oxygen vanished from the room. My chest thumped hard, fingers gripping my faded flannel shirt. I forced a nod, but my throat was parched dry. "4,000, I echoed faintly. "Sweetie, the center's been my lifeline." Emily's brow creased, her smile evaporating completely. She turned to the man who'd just entered, Victor, her husband in a crisp linen shirt and gleaming leather shoes. The aroma of his Tom Ford cologne overpowered the scent of the barbecue ribs I'd smoked all morning to greet my daughter. Victor flashed a grin, smooth as oil. "Ah, Father, you must have overlooked it," he said smoothly, his tone like velvet over hidden thorns. "I drop it off monthly, remember?" I met his eyes steadily. "If you did, it must have vanished en route," I replied softly. The air thickened instantly. I caught the clock's tick, the distant hum of traffic, and my own racing heart. Emily glanced between us, her silver-haired dad in his old shirt and the dapper husband in his finery, her expression puzzled and growing uneasy. "Victor, you've been delivering the cash, right? I send it to you each time." He nodded, his grin intact. "Absolutely, Emily. I swing by every month. Perhaps Father's memory slipped, with age." The phrase was gentle, but it struck my soul like gravel underfoot. Age. I'd heard it too often since Evelyn's passing, from folks who saw an old widower as a relic, something to be pitied or dismissed. But I knew my recall. Every receipt, every favor, every volunteer shift at the center, and I knew, without a shadow of a doubt, Victor hadn't handed over a single dime. I dipped my head, opting for silence. Some fights brew slow, like a storm gathering on the horizon. Emily rose and patted my arm gently. "Dad, it's likely just a glitch. I'll verify the wires. I want you worry-free." I offered a weak smile, but a subtle fury stirred within me. A calm, resolute fire. I stayed mum, just tidied up the kitchen and poured him a glass of lemonade. As Emily sat back down, Victor eased beside her, his hand claiming her shoulder possessively. His scan of me was cool, superior, like he was already counting me out. The vibe chilled the room despite the blazing Texas sun outside. Victor eyed the living room, lingering on the faded snapshots on the shelf. Emily as a kid with curly locks, sparkling eyes, and an innocent beam. He sighed lightly, almost theatrically. "You've kept this place spotless, Father, even now." I smiled thinly. "Old, sure, but sharp enough to note who crosses my threshold, Victor." Emily shifted uneasily in her seat. "Dad, it's Father's Day. Let's not stir things up." "I just want your joy, kiddo," I said, my eyes locked on Victor. "So do I, but joy stems from deeds, not empty claims." Emily paused, and Victor's grin tightened, then vanished for a split second. After they departed, I sat solo in the den. Sunbeams danced across the oak table like fleeting memories. $4,000 monthly for 10 months. That's $40,000 total. That could have patched the creaky porch, swapped the faulty stove, eased my twilight years with some comfort. Instead, I'd tallied soup cans from the center, blessing each shared loaf of bread from kind souls. I clutched my chest, not in rage, but in a deep, throbbing ache. That evening, I cracked open my worn ledger, once used for bills and notes during my bookkeeping days. This time I penned at the top, "Uncover the facts." Below it, "Beware false charm." I shut it, inhaled deep. I wasn't frail. I'd outlasted grief, isolation, hardship, and this deception too. Emily might be duped, but not me. And if Victor figured I'd fade quietly while he posed as the ideal son-in-law, he'd picked the wrong man to dismiss. I spent the afternoon in my cozy kitchen, sunlight slicing through the blinds into golden stripes on the tile floor. The chamomile tea cooled untouched as I eyed my ancient flip phone, pondering. Could I be wrong? Bank error? Victor mailed it? Or in a rare slip, had I forgotten? No, I tracked every detail, every token received. No wire, no package, no funds from Emily Thompson. That night, I dusted off my old ledger from my stint as bookkeeper for the local veterans group. Pages flipped under my fingers, each entry crisp and accurate. $15 for heart meds, $28 for the power bill, $8 for center potlucks. No wire from Emily Thompson. Zilch. Nothing. Next dawn, I headed to Gulf Coast Savings, my modest account holder for decades. I sat opposite a teller named Lisa, slid my passbook over the counter. Check for any wires from Emily Thompson. She claims $4,000 monthly for 10 months. She blinked, keyed in the details, then shook her head kindly. "Sorry, Mr. Thompson, nothing at all. Just a $1.50 interest credit back in March." I nodded, thanked her sincerely, and rose. Outside, Houston's breeze tousled my white hair as I lingered on the sidewalk. A weight plunged through me like a stone in still water. No wires, no deliveries, nothing. 10 months of clipping ads, opting for canned tins over fresh produce, thanking heaven for center meals. Meals alone, coin counting before grocery runs, but never once dreamed my daughter's silence hid deceit from her own husband. Home again, I dropped my keys on the counter, sat still in the quiet. The clock ticked, the anniversary gift Evelyn gave me 42 years ago. Each minute whispered, "Truth is nearing." That afternoon, I visited Oakwood Center as part of my routine. Pastor Jenkins, who'd known me for 2 decades, spotted me in the back row after the meeting. "Mr. Thompson, you okay? You seem worn down today." I smiled weakly, hiding my shaky hands. just puzzling why my daughter's packages never showed up. Pastor Jenkins patted my shoulder firmly. The Almighty reveals truth in His time. Hold on to faith. I nodded. But faith alone? No, I needed steps, concrete ones. That night I opened a tan leather ledger, Emily's birthday gift to me on my 60th. First page, no sentimental note, just, if lying, the law can force truth. I pressed the pen firm. Under the lamp, the words shone like an oath. From then on, I logged everything. Every Victor drop by, date, hour, exact words. Friday, July 5th, Victor with a pie. Said funds wired, bank lag maybe. No proof. Sunday, August 3rd, called, said he was busy with a gala. Heard lounge music and laughter behind him. Entry by entry, precise as my old bookkeeping days. Numbers don't deceive, and neither do patterns. Weeks passed, and Victor kept appearing uninvited. Impeccable as always. Tailored suits, luxury watches, sleek shoes. Always a trinket. Ties, nuts, sometimes fancy soaps, but never cash. One September noon, as I fixed the fence in the yard, his black BMW rolled up the driveway. Victor emerged, polished to perfection, with a box of cigars. "I brought these to help you unwind," he said slickly. "Stress can fog the recall." I set my tools down, wiped my hands on my jeans. "Recall solid, Victor. Solid enough to mow the last funds from you, none at all." His jaw twitched, but the smile rebounded quickly. "Oh, Father, you're mistaken. I've wired it. Must be your bank's glitch." I nodded, unpacked the cigars slowly. "Maybe, but the bank says 0 for 10 months. Silence hung heavy. Even the birds hushed. Victor toyed with his car keys nervously. "I'll recheck," he said quick, then bolted to his car, cologne lingering like a bad aftertaste. I watched the BMW fade down the street. Bitterness mingled with sharp insight. He lied, and now he knew I knew. Evening entry. Victor, September 19th. Lied outright. Got fidgety. Fled fast. Each word hammered my ache deeper. No longer a feeble dad praying in silence. I was Robert Thompson, survivor of loss, bills, broken vows. I'd endure, and I'd reclaim the truth. Weeks later, I queried Emily's bank discreetly, feigning info about family gifting options. No privates shared, but a clerk hinted, if sent, it hit your named account. If not, perhaps an alternate under your name. A chill hit me spine deep. Fake account, in my name, but not mine. I shut the ledger, exhaled slow. Victor was clever, suave, manipulative, bending my daughter like clay. But I'd balanced ledgers for firms back in the day, track thousands without a single loss. Forge my name, I'd unearth it buried. That night, I reread my notes under the lamplight. Evelyn's face ghosted in my mind. She'd say, "Robert, if they underestimate you, don't yell. Let truth echo loudest." I shut it, a calm washing over me. Dawn broke, and I was church-bound with note copies in an envelope. Handed it to Pastor Jenkins. "If I miss service someday, safeguard this." He frowned deeply. "Robert, what's going on?" I smiled firm, prepping for truth to have its voice. Homeward, the burden eased a fraction. The road ahead was long. Tears, hurt, treachery lay in wait. But I was fearless now. I'd reclaim every one of those $4,000, plus the respect they deemed age had eroded. As the sun dipped behind the pines, I sat on the porch eyeing the fiery horizon. In that golden glow, I whispered, "Victor, you picked the wrong man to con. This old dad's got lessons yet to teach." I smiled thin, shut the ledger, and added, Justice's first step: always remember. In the Houston dusk, my battle had truly dawned. That next morning, the Houston air hummed warmer than usual. A wind bore dry dust and the faint scent of roses from the climber I'd planted after fixing the porch. I was pruning those roses when a sleek engine neared. Gravel crunched under tires. I tensed lightly. A fresh, red BMW halted at the gate, chrome sparkling so bright I shaded my eyes. The door opened. Victor exited, dapper as a glossy magazine ad. Navy blazer, shades, buffed boots. In his right hand, a big gift box with silver bow. He grinned, voice silky with an edge. "Father, a token of appreciation. Emily's tied up in calls, so I subbed in." I wiped my hands on my jeans, watched him ascend the steps. "Kind of you. You two stay busy," I said soft. No smile returned. Victor's eyes skimmed the yard as he sighed dramatically. "Wow, the yard's thriving all on your own." I replied, "These hands and a little patience," stowing the clippers in the dirt. Soon, he set the box on the porch bench. Gourmet cheeses, fig jam, a bottle of scotch. Neatly packaged, but empty of meaning. I knew gifts like that. Pricey, showy, empty of heart. I sat in the old rocker, poured us both iced tea, and eyed him direct. "Victor, quick question. Where's this month's $4,000? You claimed delivery last time." For a split second, his grin froze, like a fleeting shadow across his face. Then he chuckled, crisp like cracking ice. "Ah, Father, must have left it in the car." His voice edged up slightly, and he fidgeted with the glass without taking a sip. I glanced at the driveway. The BMW gleamed under the sun. Fresh tags, clearly a new buy. I smiled slow. "Fine ride, Victor. Pricey upgrade." He shrugged, his laugh brittle now. "Not much, Father. Upgraded for business image. Client meetings demand it." "Sure," I said calm. "New wheels for work, but the old wires forgotten in the car. Curious priority." His face tightened briefly. Then he forced the grin back. "Father, is trust waning? I'll bring a receipt next time." "Fine by me." No more words needed. We sat in silence, the ceiling fan whirring soft overhead. Yard crickets hummed restless in the heat. Victor rose first, glancing at his watch theatrically. "Got a dash, big deal closing, but fret not. I'll remind Emily to rewire bank. Sorry for the mix-up." I nodded. "Safe drive, and remember that envelope in the car?" He halted for a second, his smile thinning, annoyance and wariness mixing in his eyes. "Sharp as ever, Father," he muttered, then left. His heels clicked down the steps steady, but cold, like a countdown beginning. The door slammed, engine roared, and the BMW vanished in a trail of sun glare. With the sound gone, I sat back, fingers laced, chest heavy but resolved. Doubts? None left. I knew certain now. I rose, entered the house. My steps echoed on the wood floors like a heartbeat syncing with my mind. Drawer open, tan ledger out, and I penned, October 8th, Victor solo visit, gift box, claimed funds forgotten in the car, new BMW, no proof. Voice wavered, eyes dodged. Pen down, I breathed deep. Hands shook slight, but resolve was firm as oak. That afternoon, I trekked to the post office, using a public phone, no home call. I suspected Victor might be watching somehow. Dialed Emily's firm directly, polite but firm. "Robert Thompson, Emily Thompson's dad, need a quick chat with accounting, personal matter." Brief hold music. Then an older man answered. "This is Harrison Ford, lead accountant. Mr. Thompson, how can I help you?" I gripped the receiver tight, voice even. "Thanks, Harrison. Just confirming something small. My daughter says the firm's pulling $4,000 monthly from her personal account to me. Accurate? A pause on the line. Can't share full privates, but let me check. Yes, auto wires go out the same day monthly. That exact sum appears sent, but unsure to whom exactly. To whom? I echoed calmly. Not to me. Uncertain, Mr. Thompson. The recipient matches your name, but the account differs. We assumed it was yours. A chill ran spine deep. I spoke even. Thanks, Harrison. That's enough for now. I hung up, stood motionless in the booth. Heart raced, but mind crystal clear. Truth. Fake account. In my name. One person close enough to pull it off. Victor. The walk home felt longer, my shadow stretching on the road. Wind bore scorched dirt and the dry scent of poor Houston summers, reminding me of what my own dad used to say. To know if a man's honest, check his hands. Victor's, smooth, ringed, always holding shopping bags. No scars, no trace of toil. That night, supper skipped entirely. I sipped peppermint tea at the kitchen table under yellow light. The house was quiet, yard crickets fading into the night. New page in the ledger. October 8th. Victor visited, pretending elegant care. New car, same lies. Called Emily's firm. Confirmed funds transfer, but not to my account. Tomorrow, surface the truth. Pen down, I gazed out the window. The sky slashed with red fire clouds. Low and steady, I muttered, Victor, you forgot my 35-year bookkeeping career. I read lies in faces and in numbers. This time, the numbers will talk loudest. I shut the ledger, feeling lighter. For the first time in months, I wasn't alone in this. I had witnesses, allies, and a plan standing ready. I slept sounder that night. The crickets outside counted like hopeful allies. In my dream, Harrison in white light, holding up a file, Victor retreating, his face rattled as secrets peeled away layer by layer. I woke not as a victim, but as a man moving truth forward. 3 days later, the facts aligned like perfect ledger rows, and I acted. I called Emily. My daughter's voice came kind and familiar with a hint of fatigue. Dad, sorry I've been buried lately. Victor says he visits regularly, right? I smiled, tone light and inviting. He does, kid. Victor's attentive. How about I invite you both to dinner this Saturday? Been too long since a proper family meal. Emily agreed gladly, missing the hidden snare in my invite entirely. Saturday morning I prepped, not a perfect feast, but an ordinary veil to lower guards. Smoked brisket slow all day, cornbread from scratch, pecan slaw, blueberry cobbler, Evelyn's childhood favorites. I polished Evelyn's old silverware, set the table with candles' soft glow, all arranged warm and genuine to lure the liar's defenses down. Clock hit 6, an engine purred outside. Through the window, the red BMW slid into the drive. Victor out first, overdressed in a charcoal suit, new watch glinting, cologne trail following. Emily followed, holding a bouquet of roses. Dad, you look great, she beamed, placing the flowers on the table. Better than ever, thanks to your grace. And you too, welcome. Victor grinned, his lips curling smug. I knew that look. The puppet master, convinced he held all strings. I poured beer for him, tea for her. We chatted light about weather, the roses blooming strong, new neighbors on the block. The room warmed, and I let her relax fully. Main course served, I looked up and smiled genuine. I appreciate you both coming, especially with this month's $4,000 helping out. Victor paused for a fraction, then broad grinned and sipped his beer. Father, no need for formalities. I nodded, pretending shy gratitude. Thrilled about it. Even bought a new grill with it. Houston cools quick in evenings, funsies the little things. Victor's smile widened, smug satisfaction radiating. He tilted his head Emily's way. See, he's fine. I watched slow, then casual. "Oh, Victor, just curious. What day do you usually wire it?" No brace needed on my end. Instant answer. "The 5th monthly, Father." I nodded light, but Emily spoke up, puzzled. "Wait, not the 5th, hun? I auto-set it for the 20th. The room fell silent, pin drop. Hear that? The exact moment a liar's trap snaps shut. If you've faced such deceit at your own table, did you stay quiet like me or call it out on the spot? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to know. Bet most of us have shattered a supper or two in our lives. The fork clink on plates sounded harsh in the quiet. They stared at each other, then at me. Victor forced a smile, blinked rapid. Emily frowned deeper, confusion turning to concern. "Really?" she said with a strained laugh. "I thought you said the 5th. No, I'm sure it's the 20th. Payroll day. I always pick then." The room grew cold still. I smiled gentle, set my fork down. "Great to know. I'll check with the Center's Bank on the 20th. Must be a system glitch." Victor let out a brittle laugh, trying to hide unease. "Father, be careful not to worry. It's regular wired, no doubt." Emily nodded slowly, but her eyes shifted, doubt creeping in. I turned to her, speaking soft about work, but Victor quick switched the topic to business and traffic. I sat quiet, watching both closely. Inside, perfect calm, the calm of a trap setter. Dessert came, warm cobbler, berry scent filling the room. Emily praised it heartfelt. Victor nibbled tense, glancing at his watch, eager to leave. I knew he struggled to breathe, control slipping in his mind. At the door, I said soft, "Thanks for coming," laughed more than in a long time. Then added, "Remember, I'll check the account on the 20th. Bank system should be sure by then." Victor forced a smile. "Yes, Father, no issue, I'm sure." Emily kissed my cheek, her eyes gentle as always. But I saw something new, a thin line of doubt in her expression. The BMW pulled away. I stood in the doorway, taillights fading into night. Night wind rustled the yard leaves, the door rattling softly behind me. I stepped back inside, shut it gentle. Felt release, not triumph yet. Straight to the small study off the kitchen, I turned on the computer. The screen glow caught Evelyn's photo on the desk, her kind smile giving quiet push. I opened an email to two trusted allies, Harrison, the honest accountant, and Olivia Kane, my old pal and fraud law expert. Typed slow, heartbeat steady, eyes clear. Subject: Time to start. Harrison, Olivia, I've got everything ready. Just confirmed tonight, Victor lied about the transfer date right to our faces. They think I still believe, but he contradicted himself in front of Emily. Let's move forward with the plan. Start checking all transactions, prep comparison files. By the 20th, evidence will be lined up solid. Time for the lies to unravel themselves. Robert. I reread it once, a faint smile forming. Hitting send felt lighter. Not vengeance, but justice placing itself in honest hands. Outside, a night breeze stirred the curtains, carrying rose and damp dirt scent. I closed my eyes, listened to the clock, countdown to the 20th, when truth would crack open wide. 2 days later, Harrison replied. His email brief, professional as always. Got the bank confirmations. Account opened in your name by Victor, forged docs attached. Full data release possible with subpoena. Olivia's handling the legal side. You're moving in the right direction. H. I read it, chest tight, then loosening, like an old gate swinging free. This wasn't about cruelty. I wanted truth voiced aloud, my daughter awakened. I wanted Emily to grasp that trust isn't a blank check for someone to drain. That night, I opened the ledger for my ritual entry, small but significant. October 10th, dinner perfect trap. Victor exposed his lie. Emily's doubt began. 20th, bank check incoming. Justice coming like a soft breeze. I shut the ledger, blew out the candle. In the dark, Moonlight filtered across her face in the frame. I mirror-looked. White-haired man, slight build, but eyes bright with purpose. Whispered to myself, or to Evelyn long gone. "Evelyn, you see, he thinks he's clever, but his own mouth tightened the noose. I'll stay quiet, wait for the 20th. A small smile filled the warm room. Trap set, prey had walked right in. The next morning, Houston's sky cleared startled bright. I sat by the window with hot rose tea, an odd calm settling over me. Today, Harrison promised to send everything. In a few hours, every lie would be in black ink on white paper, shaped undeniable. 8 a.m. sharp, the phone rang. Harrison. "Mr. Thompson?" His voice steady and low. "Done. Just sent the full statements and all related invoices." Olivia reviewed. She says ironclad signature forgery. "We can open a legal case whenever you decide." I thanked him soft, keeping my voice from shaking. Never thought at my age I'd need an accountant and lawyer to protect funds meant from my daughter. 15 minutes later, a mail knock. Large sealed envelope, stamped Confidential Thompson Financials. I set it on the table, stared long before opening. Inside, clean printouts, dozens of pages, 10 wires of $4,000 each, $40,000 total drained. Sender, Emily Thompson. Recipient, Victor Thompson. Bold official bank lines staring back. I read twice, disbelief fading into cold fact, as numbers mocked blind faith. Bottom note from Harrison in blue ink. Mr. Victor Thompson used for personal. Besides the 10 wires, secondary card charges, boutique purchases, accessories, trips, and new car down payment. 10 months spending total, Oz $52,300. I sat still. Morning light streamed through blinds, pale gold over the pages. Truth had color, stark and unforgiving. Next sheet, boutique in Houston, $1,500 receipt. Miami duo trip, $4,200. New BMW, $18,000 down. Each receipt a small blade twisting. I recalled him entering the house, cologned and polished, gifts in hand, soft smile. "Father, I care for you like my own." Now I grasped what care meant, dollar drain in my name. I sat long, breathing deep, then pulled out the worn ledger. I called it my justice journal now. Under the date, careful words. October 12th, Harrison records received. 10 $4,000 wires, all to Victor's hands. Boutique, trip, new car. $52,300 price of stolen trust. My hand trembled, not fear, but the fire of reclaiming dignity. Afternoon, Olivia Kane called, her voice firm and precise, seasoned from courtrooms. "Robert, reviewed everything Harrison sent. Solid case. Textbook elder financial exploitation. We can go criminal or civil. Your call." I paused, answered quiet. "Not yet. I want no court before Emily sees with her own eyes. Then justice will mean something real." Olivia silent a moment, then slow. "You're right. Nothing hurts more than a daughter realizing her husband exploited her dad's trust." I nodded to myself. "That's why I'll involve Pastor Jenkins. He can arrange a small volunteer night at the center. Pretext for them to come." Olivia let out a soft, knowing laugh. "A staged truth expose night. Smart, Robert. Harrison can condense the file. Emily gets a brief summary she can't ignore." As dusk neared, I drove to the center. Evening red light washed over the old brick steps. Pastor Jenkins was lining up hall chairs. I explained the plan after. He thought a moment, then smiled kind. "Sometimes the Lord reveals sin without needing thunder, Robert. Truth only needs a small light." He squeezed my hand in thanks. "I want Emily to see that light, not revenge blinding her." On the way home, I stopped at the corner store for supplies needed for plan night. Outside, everything seemed peaceful, with no hint that in a few days, Victor's world would crash hard. Evening back home, I opened the Harrison file again, spread it all on the dining table, every statement, receipt, piece of evidence. With a red pen, I marked big withdrawals, then slipped it all into a thick gray envelope. On the front, bold and steady, Volunteer Docs, Elder Aid Fund. I knew, no volunteer info inside, just deceit and guilt laid bare. I stared at the papers long. Hands trembled, not from fear of retaliation, but because my heart beat strong after months numb. I'd long thought of myself as a simple living old widower who needed care. But looking at the proof pile, I realized I'd never been weak. They'd just convinced me I was. I stood, poured a glass of water, and looked out at the yard. Night sky full of stars, quiet crickets gusting between breezes. I recalled what Evelyn used to say, "If someone hurts you, pray they see their reflection in the mirror someday." I whispered, "I'm about to do exactly that." Around 8 p.m., the phone rang again. Harrison. "Mr. Thompson, just to let you know, Olivia's ready for whatever case you decide, but she respects your timing. Holding for the right moment is wise. Victor will self-expose soon enough." I smiled. "I know. Thanks, Harrison. You've done more than an accountant's job. You helped me believe in justice again." After hanging up, I locked the file in the cabinet drawer under family photos. On top, I left a small note. Evidence not just of fraud, but of a dad who refuses silence. Drawer close, key turn, soft click, like a final promise sealed. That night, rain poured steady from dusk until midnight. Wind lashed the windows, scattering rose pots I'd brought in early that morning. In the living room, under yellow lamplight, wet glass reflected memory fragments, like months I'd sorted through pain. I sat at the desk reviewing donation files for next week's Helping Hands Alliance meeting when a knock came, soft but insistent, carrying storm chill. I looked up, past 10 p.m. At my age, late knocks are rare, unless... I walked to the door, hand trembling as I turned the latch. The door swung open, wind rushing in, rain splattering my coat, and there, under the downpour, stood Emily. Drenched to the bone, hair plastered to her forehead, eyes red and weary. Time froze instant. The girl I'd once held in my arms, taught how to tie shoelaces, now trembling before me like a lost child. "Dad," she cracked. "Dad, I'm so sorry. I've been so stupid." Before I could respond, she stepped inside, knees sinking to the wet floor. Broken sobs escaped, raw, unguarded. She buried her face in her hands, shoulders shaking hard. And I stood there, looking at my daughter, the man who once thought he understood everything, now watching his world crumble and rebuild in the house he'd raised her with honesty as foundation. I knelt beside her, placed a hand on her shoulder, soft. "Emily, get up, kid. Everyone stumbles. Forgiveness doesn't forget. Save yourself now." She lifted her head, tears mixing with rain streaming down her face. "I don't deserve your forgiveness. I doubted you. I let him manipulate me. I stayed silent while you suffered. Dad, I've lost everything." She shook her head gently. I guided her to the sofa, dried her hair with a towel, just like when she was little. Each motion slow and tender, as if a fast move might shatter this fragile moment of reconnection. I said quiet, "You don't need to apologize. Just remember, It's never too late for the truth. All I did was wait with a brave face." She said nothing, only staring at the flickering fireplace. Outside, the rain beat against the window like a belated heartbeat waking the soul. After a long pause, Emily whispered her own words, afraid-like. "Victor is gone, Dad." I stopped drying her hair, then continued. "He drained the savings, took over the company, and disappeared. He said he ran into a man he knew from before our marriage." I closed my eyes. No anger, no surprise, just a quiet sadness settling in, like accepting the rain after the storm had already ended. Emily's voice trembled. I tried calling, texting, looking everywhere, but he's vanished. He left only one message: "Wrong person to trust." I took her hand, warm and firm. "No, kid, you just realized the truth late. But even if trust is broken, that doesn't separate us from the deception." She rested her head on my shoulder like a child who had finally found her way home. I felt her breath, uneven but real. Then soft sobs came. "I've lost everything, Dad." I stroked her hair, voice calm. "No, daughter, tonight you found something far greater: the heart to admit your mistake." The rain was almost over by midnight. I brewed ginger tea while she sat curled up by the fireplace. Steam rose, mingling with the scent of burning wood, filling the room with warmth. "I don't understand how you stay so calm after everything," she said quietly. I gave a faint smile. "I know, because justice isn't about making someone pay. It's about restoring balance. See, Victor reaps exactly what he sows." She nodded, staring at the dancing flames. "You're all I have left now, Dad." "No," I replied. "You still have yourself, and from this moment, you can choose whether to truly stand again." After a while of silence, she said sudden, "Dad, can I help with the foundation? I want to do something meaningful, maybe start this weekend." I looked at her. Her eyes were so sincere, I had to fight the emotion swelling in my chest. "Are you sure, kid?" "Of course, Dad. I don't want to live the way I used to anymore. I want to relearn how to use money to heal hurt instead." I nodded. "Come on Saturday then. Pastor Jenkins will be happy to see you." From that day on, Emily came every weekend to help with the alliance. She would drive early, bring coffee for everyone, then sit beside me to organize files and write thank you letters to donors. On some days, she helped Pastor Jenkins move chairs for events. On other days, she went with Olivia to meet elder victims and record their stories gently. People say time heals all wounds. But for me, it wasn't time. My daughter's transformation became the real medicine. One morning, I saw her at the desk, focused on fixing a spreadsheet, her brown hair glinting in the sunlight. In that moment, I saw little Emily again, the girl who used to help wash dishes and once asked, "Dad, what does honesty mean?" I looked at her, my heart swelling with tender gratitude. "Emily," I called softly. She looked up. "You've carried your own pain across, kid," I said with a smile. "Not everyone has that courage." She gave a faint smile, rare and genuine, one I hadn't seen in months. "If not for you, Dad, I don't know how long I'd have drowned in guilt." I placed a hand on her shoulder, voice warm. "Emily, I didn't save you, you saved yourself." Outside, a gentle rain began to fall. I looked through the window. Drops slid down the glass and disappeared. The door that once knocked on a stormy night now stood open. No more rain pouring in. The wind carried only the scent of damp earth and roses. In that quiet moment, I understood. No matter how broken life gets, the door is always open for those who wish to return. And as I watched my daughter's smile in that sunlit room, I knew the storm had passed, and peace had finally found its way home. One autumn dawn, with soft sun spilling through the window, I sat at the desk staring at blank paper. A breeze from the porch carried a faint rose scent, her favorite fragrance, reminding me of gentle patience and endurance. I picked up the pen. The ink flowed smoothly like breath, and the first words appeared. "Victor, thank you. Because of you, I learned the true value of honesty and the strength of self-respect." I paused, watching the ink spread under the faint morning light. Strange, there was no anger in me, only quiet peace. I continued writing. "If it weren't for you, I might still believe truth is something obvious, and that kindness is always repaid in kind. But you taught me different. Truth has meaning only when you're brave enough to defend it. You took the money, but in return you gave something. Something money can never buy: freedom." I smiled softly. My handwriting became lighter and gentler. "I don't know where you are now or if you've found peace, but if one day you read this, I want you to know I forgave you. Not because you deserve it, but because I refuse to stay chained to the darkness you left behind." I set the pen down and looked at the now full page, a letter written for no one, but with the clarity to heal a once broken heart. I folded it carefully, slipped it into a cream envelope, and opened the small wood box where Evelyn used to keep old birthday cards. I placed the letter inside, among family photos, next to a note she once wrote me. "Robert, truth doesn't need to shout, it only needs to live." I closed the box, hearing the soft click of wood, like gently closing a chapter. In the months that followed, the Helping Hands Alliance grew faster than I could have imagined. Each week we welcomed new people, some arriving in tears, some with messy folders clutched tight, some needing nothing more than a place to finally tell their story without burying it in silence. In them I saw myself, once deceived, once belittled, but still clinging to the belief that justice exists. And every time I helped someone reclaim their rights, it felt like reclaiming a fragment of my own past. One day, Emily stopped by the office with 2 cups of hot coffee. She sat beside me and looked around the room, now filled with posters, charts, and thank you cards with smiling faces. She said, "I can't believe how big your alliance has become. You really did turn pain into light." I chuckled softly and set down my cup. "It's not God's light, kid, it's justice's light. God may forgive, but justice never forgets." Emily nodded slowly. "Maybe I've finally learned to understand that." I looked at her and saw the woman she had become, no longer the weak one who once ran from the truth, but someone who now bows to what's right. In that moment, my heart felt light as air. I was no longer poor and afraid. The days of standing in line for canned food at the center were long gone, but I didn't remember the shame anymore. If anything, I was grateful. Those days taught me endurance and dignity. I realized something worth far more than money: self-respect. When a person holds self-respect, they truly can't be defeated, even when they lose everything else. Now, every morning, I still wake early, brew a pot of tea, and open the windows, her eyes gentle and kind. I smile at her. "If only you could see this, you'd be proud of me, wouldn't you?" If she were still alive, I know she'd smile. Not because I recovered the money, but because of the strength she once kept in me through love. Strength that never let anyone else define my worth. That evening, after Emily left the office, I stayed behind, opened the worn journal that had followed this journey, and wrote the final line. "The thief is gone, but the lesson remains." I paused and looked out the window. The sky turned pale orange, raindrops tapping softly on the roof. I heard the distant bells from the center ring, slow and deep, like time breathing. I closed the journal. It felt like finishing a prayer. I need no revenge, no applause, just to know that even in a cruel world, honesty still has a place to stand. I blew out the candle beside the photo frame. The light dimmed, leaving a faint trace of wax in the air. And in the darkness, I whispered to myself, "Thanks, Victor. Thanks for everything you took from me, so I could finally learn that the most important thing in life isn't holding on, it's learning how to rise again." A year later, in the blooming Texas spring, roses flourished by the porch as the morning sky turned a soft, silky blue. I was brewing tea when the phone rang, a call from Austin. A woman's cheerful voice came through. "Mr. Robert Thompson, congratulations! You've been selected as Texas Man of the Year. The council honors those who contribute to social justice and senior rights. We'd love to speak with you about the ceremony next week." I froze for a moment. Not with pride, but in disbelief. A year ago, I was a 68-year-old widower living on center aid. Now they called me a symbol of peaceful justice. Life, it seems, always finds a way to turn when you keep believing in truth. The ceremony was held in the grand hall of the city courthouse. I chose a light green shirt. Simple, like the life I now live. No glamour, no pretense. When I stepped onto the stage, applause filled the room. Among the crowd, I saw Emily in the second row, wearing a white shirt, her eyes glowing with a pride I hadn't seen since she was a girl. The host smiled. "Mr. Robert Thompson, founder of the Helping Hands Alliance, a man who turned personal pain into a force for justice, helping dozens of seniors reclaim their dignity." I walked to the wooden podium, hands trembling slightly, but my voice steady. "Thanks," I began. "But this isn't my story to tell today. It's the story of an unnamed dad, deceived by his own son-in-law, who lost both money and trust." The hall fell silent. Faces young and old, men and women, all leaned in. I once thought that when someone betrays you, the best revenge is silence. But I learned something else. When someone steals your trust, reclaim it with truth. No shouting, no hatred, just truth, because truth holds a power no punishment ever could. Applause erupted, long and heartfelt. I paused and took a deep breath. From the front row, I saw Emily wipe her eyes. Her face almost broke me. Not out of pity, but because I knew she finally understood. When I spoke again, my voice softened, warm and low, like a message to everyone ever broken by betrayal from their own family. Justice isn't just what happens in court. It begins the moment you find the courage to say, "Enough," even when the one who wronged you is someone you love. That's the bravest act any dad, any mom, any human can do. After the ceremony, there were photos, handshakes, bouquets. I don't remember all the faces, but I remember the feeling. Deep peace. As I stepped outside, a light rain began to fall. Texas skies always remind me how even in rain, there's light. I stood under the awning, watching drops glimmer under streetlights, my heart lighter than ever. Emily came up beside me and draped her jacket over my shoulders. "Dad," she said softly, "I've never seen you shine like this." I smiled and held her hand. "It's not because of the award, kid. It's because you're here, like the old days. Only now we truly understand what honesty means." She smiled back, her eyes still misty. "I do, Dad, and I promise to live by it." We looked up at the sky. The rain was still falling, but I no longer felt cold. Inside me, a small light rose, the light of faith, freedom, and new beginnings. That night, back home, I sat at the desk and opened the worn journal. I wrote the final line. "A dad's greatest victory isn't winning in court. It's teaching his child the value of honesty." I closed the book and listened to the wind outside. The faint scent of rain still clung to the roof. On the table, a small candle flickered, casting a soft glow over the family photo. Evelyn, me, little Emily. 3 faces in one frame. 3 moments in time bound by one truth. Love never dies. It just changes form. I smiled. My life is no longer loud, rich, or grand, but it's full in its own quiet, peaceful way. Thank you for staying with me until the very end of my story. If you've ever faced injustice or betrayal within your own family, share your story in the comments below. I truly want to hear it, because your voice today could help someone else find hope tomorrow. And if you believe, as I always have, that the truth will always find its way home, please hit that like button, subscribe for more, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next tale. I'll be back with stories about men, about dads, about those who once fell but rose again through the light of justice and compassion. From Houston, Texas.